Good afternoon. Welcome to our Friday devotional. Glad you're joining with us, and hope you've had a great week. I'm sitting outside today, and it's kind of unusual. It's very cool for this time of year, and hearing that it might be even in the freezing temperatures tonight. Just another one of the unusual things that has been happening lately, on top of the pandemic and tornadoes and other things. And last week, I put together a playlist of songs, and several of those songs dealt with storms. And I didn't know this was going to happen, but we had a storm called a derecho or something like that. I've never heard of that before, but it caused a lot of damage on Sunday. And uh, shortly, right about the time I was posting the video, so it was kind of a strange time. But hopefully you're all safe and healthy, and don't have any storm damage. And if you lost power, you've gotten your power back and other things. And hopefully everybody's trying to get at least back to some normalcy, which is hard to know what normal is anymore. Uh, Want to talk today. This is a special weekend. Obviously, Mother's Day on Sunday, and we've just spent the last several hours delivering roses to some of our mothers from church. And we had a group of, I don't know, 10 or 12 different men and families delivering these roses to different family members. And it was it was a very good time to get out and see everybody, well, while keeping our distance. And you will see, if you join our worship on Sunday, you will see a slideshow of the pictures, and I think it'll be really special. Um, but it got me thinking about a question I want to ask today, and that question is, are there days, or is there a day where you remember vividly where you were, what happened that day, and how it affected you the rest of your life, for that day? Some of you watching this may say, "Oh yeah, I remember being a kid when Pearl Harbor in 1941." Some may remember the Korean War, the Vietnam War, John F. Kennedy being shot, Ronald Reagan being shot. I certainly remember things like the space shuttle blowing up in 1986, and being in class at National Christian watching it live on TV when it happened. I certainly remember 9/11 and everything that was going on that day, and how terrible that was. And actually, we were expecting our third child and thinking, what in the world are we bringing this child into? And now that certain child, my youngest, is graduating somewhat virtually in a pandemic. So there's just been a lot of different things over the years that you just remember exactly what happened on those days. Um, 2 days that I remember that really, really were something that you just won't forget, and that's the day that my father and my mother passed away. I remember sitting at work and getting a phone call from one of our elders at the time, Don Wood. My dad had been in the hospital for a while, and he called and says, "You need to get over here because something's wrong with your dad." And I said, "Okay." So I rushed over there, and we didn't make it in time, before he was gone. And that was a tough day, and having my mom there and other family. And but it was a blessing to have Brother Don there and comforting us at that time. The other day, 6 years later, almost to the day, we were at Grandparents' Day at National Christian School, and I was filming because all three of my children were participating in the program, and my mom didn't show up, and we didn't know why. And so my brother went to go check on her, and found that she had passed away during the night. And so you remember exactly the time, the date, the things you were doing at that time when you get those type of news. And I'm sure many of you out there are the same way. For those of you that have not lost your mother or your father, then be thankful. Take this time to love on them, call them, care for them, deliver food to them, whatever it is you need to do. Take the time to do that, and do it willingly, doing it happily, even though I know a lot of them may drive you crazy. We had our moments of disagreements, as a parent and son, whatever, and I'm sure everybody does. But you need to treat them and respect them, and certainly honor them because of all that they've done for you. And this is the time this weekend where we set aside for Mother's Day. So I thought of or looked up a few verses, mostly from Proverbs here, that talk about mothers and fathers. So I'll read just a few of those. Proverbs 6:20, "My son, keep your father's command, and do not forsake the law of your mother." Proverbs 15:20, "A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother." Proverbs 20:20, "Whoever curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in deep darkness." "Let your father and mother be glad, and let he who bore you rejoice." "My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother." Proverbs 19:26, "He who mistreats his father and chases away his mother is a son who causes shame and brings reproach." Proverbs 23:22, "Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old." Proverbs 28:24, "Whoever robs his father or his mother and says, 'It is no transgression,' the same is companion to a destroyer." Proverbs 29:15, "The rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother." Proverbs 10:1, "The Proverbs of Solomon, a wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother." Proverbs 30:17, "The eye that mocks his father and scorns obedience to his mother, the ravens of the valley will pick it out, and the young eagles will eat it." When you hear those are some those are some very strong verses to deal with how we treat not only our mother, but our father, but especially at this time thinking of our mothers. And certainly we don't want to be the grief of our mother and cause those types of things. So I share those with you, and hoping that they help you to remember that, even though sometimes they can drive you crazy, we can drive them crazy, but just that we all take the time to help them out and do what we can, and certainly love them. Also, I will read another verse. "For God commanded, saying, 'Honor your father and mother, and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death.'" And even Jesus recognized the need to take care of his mother, even as he is on the cross. As it says, "Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, 'Woman, behold your son.' Then he said to the disciple, 'Behold your mother.' And from that hour that disciple took her to his home." So that tells me that Jesus even then knew that he wanted his mother taken care of, and he had someone that he loved, and he gave him that responsibility to take care of his mother and ensure that she was going to be able to grieve and be able to get through this tough time and be able to prosper. So just something to think about again this weekend. As I said, my mother is not here. I certainly don't go a day without missing her and my father and just those times. I will say that I was fortunate enough to have a very good mother-in-law, of which I call her my favorite mother-in-law, as she would say, and I think she would also hopefully say I'm her favorite son-in-law. uh, but there are many other women that have also served as somewhat mothers to me, and I'm sure many of you have that same thing. And a lot of these women are at our congregation, and I just want to thank them for that and giving us that love and honor and ability. So again, happy Mother's Day to everybody, and we certainly hope you have a great day and enjoy this time together as a family.